Hello guys, my name is Evan Thomas and welcome to Mr Padaku. So let's talk about engines. Okay, so let's start. Now, I'm pretty sure all of you may have seen an explosion. So, what is happening in an explosion? So, when an explosion happens, there's an instant release of a large amount of energy. Now, what caused this release of energy? Well, if you take a firecracker, the cause of the large amount of release of energy is the combustion. Now, what is combustion? Combustion is the burning of any substance in the presence of oxygen. So, for combustion, there are three things which are required. First is the fuel, second is the initiator, and third is the oxygen. So, if even one of these things are absent, combustion would not happen. So, now we understand what is combustion. So, if there's this large amount of energy being released, can there be a way to harness this large amount of energy? Well, that's what your engine does. Now imagine that this explosion is happening in a closed container. Now you will see that when if you put a cracker inside a box and burn the cracker, what would happen? The box would explode. So, if what's happening is that the immense amount of energy being released is causing a large amount of force being applied on the walls of the container. So, they are being pushed up. So, is there a way to use this? Well, that is what happens in an engine cylinder. So, in an engine cylinder, there are three fixed valves and one piston. The face of the piston is the fourth valve. So in this small space inside the cylinder, small amount of fuel is inserted, and using a spark plug, what a spark plug does is it creates a spark. You may have seen a lighter when you're in your kitchen. So in the same way, a spark plug creates a spark. Now the spark it acts as the initiator for the combustion. And there's inflow of air into the cylinder which allows complete combustion. So you have the fuel, you have the oxygen, you have the initiator. Hence combustion happens, and this fuel, this reaction being very spontaneous, releases large amount of energy. Hence more amount of force is applied on the valves. Now, since the piston is movable, what happens is that the explosion pushes the piston back, and when the explosion ends, the piston moves back to its position. Now, this to and fro motion is converted into circular motion of the axle of the car. So, this is what happens in moving the car. The explosion creates a to and fro motion of the piston, which leads to circular motion of the axle, and hence the car moves forward. So now you understand how the engine works. Now this is a basic concept, but how can we improve this? So if you see the triangle, you have the initiator, you have the fuel, you have the oxygen. So in terms of fuel, you can use a better purity fuels to increase the performance of the engine. But is there any way to increase the amount of oxygen which we have? Well, there is. Now you may have heard about turbocharged engines. What they have is a component called turbo. What it does is, it increases the airflow into the cylinder. Hence, a greater amount of energy is released. Now I'm pretty sure that you may have seen this movie. Well, if you know the name of the movie, put it in the comments. Let's see who gets the right answer. Okay, so in this movie, the cars use something called as NOS. And what's happening in the scene is that something is coming out of the car which is causing it to move faster. You may think that the gases which are coming out of the exhaust is what is the cause of the faster speed. Well, actually it isn't. What's happening is that NOS is the short form for nitrous oxide. So what happens is that nitrous oxide has two components, nitrogen and oxygen. And you know that oxygen improves the combustion and is required for combustion. So what happens is that when we, as you may have seen in the movie, they release the valve for the NOS. What happens here is that the NOS flows into the cylinders. Now, in the cylinders, the a spark plug creates the spark. The energy of the spark causes the nitrogen and oxygen molecules to separate. So, the combustion of the fuel has more amount of oxygen, hence it releases more amount of energy. So now you understand how NOS works, and you may not be thinking there's the gas which is pushing the car forward. So now you know how NOS works, what is turbo, and how an engine works. So that's all for today, guys. I'm sure that you may all have learned something new. So stay tuned, don't forget to click the like button, don't forget to share this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed until now, and stay tuned.